Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 Kaiserreich Ottoman Empire. Let's continue on from where we last left off. Oh, Black Monday's hit, fantastic. So the Co-Education Unification Act has failed. Although not entirely unexpected, the Grand Vizier was outraged by this act, which he expects is contributed by the Sultan's interference. As the Sultan, strictly speaking, remained within his jurisdiction, only encountering the senators to vote against, many see this as the start of increasing interference by the House of Osman, in the daily affairs of the Ottoman Parliament. Grand Vizier Musa Kemal Pasha has been seen earlier today making his way to the palace to present his opinions to the Sultan and to ensure that no further meddling will occur in the future. Although not making directly threatening the Pasha, the Grand Vizier does not hide his preference for the younger Osman Fuad should the need arise. So, I mean, here's the thing: I don't want the Ottomans to. I don't want the Ottomans basically coup the government. I think we want one of the liberals to win. The Genesis of Nations. A journalist from Beirut has made shockwaves in the Syrian Valette with his romantic view of Greater Syria free from Ottoman rule. Taking inspiration from the ancient Assyrian Empire and a return for the Fertile Crescent of old, he pleads for a nation spreading from the Suez Canal in the south to the Tariffs Mountains in the north, and from Kuwait in the east to Cyprus in the west. Though the survival of a nation consisting of such massive amounts of different ethnicities and religions seems like a fairy tale, the man not only follows closely to Kemalist ideas of secular states, but also an inspiration from the syndicalist powers seem apparent as well. With the focus of abolishing feudalism, nationalizing federal areas of the economy, mandatory education, and universal healthcare, even though its popularity amongst the Syrian people seems rather low for now, the governor of Beirut has ordered his arrest, and the man has been imprisoned for treason against the state and instigating revolutionary activities. So there's going to be more unrest in this area, which to me seems pretty bad. So we're now currently... When's our next election? Our next election is in October 1939. Is that when the war breaks out? No, the war breaks out in October 1938. And I'm assuming this is our Black Monday. Crisis, chaos, disaster. All across the world, economists and business owners are in a state of panic as the unthinkable finally happened earlier this week, when the Berlin Stock Exchange collapsed. Similar to Berlin, Constantine is on high alert for any changes in the situation as they watch the economy collapse into the ground. Nonetheless, there is far less of a crisis in the empire than many initially expected, as the protectionist nature of the empire during the 20s has formed a foundation of structure capable of resisting most shocks on the global market. To ensure the fears of the private sector are quelled, and to outline the next 4-year plan envisioned by the OHF economic partners, a second economic congress is planned to be held in the city of Samsun on the Black Sea. Combining both projects for the private sector and increasing advances on the circular economy over the last few decades, it not only serves as a way to calm down Ottoman investors, but also to showcase for modernization in the Ottoman nation to the world. Okay, so we're now have completed you. So if we can't do this until we balance the budget. Raise import tariffs. Actually, I think we want to try to fix Black Monday as soon as possible. I'm assuming now there's going to be a war in China. That, yeah, it doesn't really affect us too much, I would say. We're still missing infantry equipment, but again, like, what can you do about that right now? I don't think the answer is much. So it looks like... So you're a core. But Fezian is not a core. It's an occupied state. But, like, how many people live here? 42,000? You know, it's actually more than I would have expected. Living in the middle of a desert. How's actually the rest of everything looking? It's really just you that's having the most troubles right now. So we'll go for local police force. Try to bring down the arrests as much as we possibly can. Making a Black Monday recovery. I mean, what is the penalty for it? 10% consumer goods, negative 30 construction speed of factory output. Yeah, you know, that's actually not so bad. There's been way worse in the past, depending on other countries. So, overall, I'm not too worried about it. The renovation of the palace complete. The former imperial residence of the House of Osman, Tbilisi Palace, was ordered in 1459 by Muhammad the Conqueror. The centuries dragged on, however, the sultans and their households preferred their other residencies on the Asian side of the Bosphorus, leading to the court moving over to the Damascus Palace. Nonetheless, retaining some of its former functions, such as the Imperial Treasury. The palace was finally emptied in 1929, or 1927, as a death amendment the year earlier. Sultan Ahmed II, a patron of the arts and famous artists himself, subsequently granted the grounds to the Ottoman state for the use of museum and art expedition. Closed for almost 8 years, the building was thoroughly renovated and restored in an attempt to once more show the splendor of the Ottoman Empire and hopefully rekindle the old Ottoman spirit. Open at a splendid party in the Erden, the old Sultan himself presented a multitude of his own works and various masterpieces of contemporary Ottoman art to the gathered world press. A little bit more stability. I've seen no reason for that. We have no war support, and we only have 17% stability, which is not like great. And we're getting 0.16 political power per day, which I would say is pretty bad. So after this, I think we're going to want to 50% factory output's pretty good. Status of the Ahmet Eniet Hizmati. The intelligence apparatus of the state has been in disarray ever since the fall of the CUP and the rogue adventures of Enver Pasha. Taking with him a sizable portion of the special organization, whose aim was to instigate Muslim revolt against the imperialist powers and a crackdown on dissent in the Middle East, the remainder of the force was reorganized into a raid into the Exile Security Service just after the conclusion of the Weltkrieg. A lack of experienced manpower and questionable allegiances of many of its members, however, greatly hindered its performance, and the effectiveness of the force has been abysmal over a decade now. To modernize the corps and to make it an effective tool to keep the Arab provinces in check, the Grand Vizier has ordained its complete dismantlement and replacement of a new entity, the National Security Service. Several close friends and associates of the Grand Vizier, however, urged him not to take such drastic steps, as rumors of secret organizations aligned with the former CUP within the force have far not been quelled, and some fear that should they feel the temper under the heat rising, they may lash out and tear down what we've built. So, okay, replace with a new entity. We can modernize the existing one. No, wipe it all clean. If it might lead to the rise of CUP, which I think are these guys. I think you're the CUP. That's the Pius the 8th. Someone's been elected chairman. OPAD strengthens its hold on the Mashriq. The Ottoman Party for the administrative centralization is making increasing waves in Mashriq as a variety of parties in the greater Syrian region who absorbed into the organization. Although a similar hand was reached out for the Arab parties in Iraq, this offer was politely declined as fear of increasing Damascus' influence among the Arab movement was seen as a counterproductive to the ultimate goal of Arab autonomy. So social liberalism has gone up by 5%. That, I think, is completely okay. What are we missing? We're not making any support equipment. You know what? That could be an issue, seeing as we do actually need some. There we go. So do something like that. We're missing out some aluminum. But I don't think missing out the aluminum is actually a big deal, at least not for right now. So you guys are eventually... you have no troops, huh? You have one division? How are you ever going to win the war against Nezhin Hansa? That seems very unlikely that you'll ever actually get that done. But I mean, both times so far, they have won in the end. So we'll kind of see. Yes, you got troops on the Egyptian border. It's completely reasonable, I would think. We do have some planes as well. Let's fly them down into Syria, because this is probably where they're going to be needed. Most often, like that's where they're going to be needed at some point, right? Because Persia, right now, they are social democratic, which I'm assuming means they're probably going to become the Republic of Iran pretty soon. I don't know if they can still go syndicalist from this path. I'm not 100% too sure. And deadlock within the Mechlin. Is this the first, or is it Mechlin 1? Or Mechlin I? I don't know. The slow rate of progress, a stubborn adherence to what they describe as backwards traditions, and the incessant obstruction of large-scale reforms in the Senate by the Sultan is pushing Parliament into breaking point. Members of the OHF are on the throats of the opposition, but are calling for the Grand Vizier to request earlier elections from the Sultan to settle the dispute once and for all. Meanwhile, the streets of Constantine representatives have been forced to travel with armed guards. The supporters of both sides are reacting violently to the rising tensions. The Conservative representative in Konya was attacked in the street earlier this week as a group of 6 men armed with daggers attempted to force themselves through the crowds. Representatives were able to escape unscathed, but gerrymandering in the city remained on high alert for any further political actions. You know what? Let's have another election. Mostly because I feel like that's probably more likely to get us to where I want to be. Select technology. Of course, we want to go for more research speed, even though it's going to take a... is it a 1938 tech? I should know this. No, it's 1936. Okay, fantastic. The Sultan reacts to the rising tensions. Although refraining from interfering in the administrative affairs of the empire as much as possible, Sultan Abdulhamid II has today finally decided to intervene in the debate. Fully aware that the entire nation is awaiting his decision, the Sultan has ordained a meeting with the Grand Vizier earlier today to discuss possible solutions to this situation. A short meeting proceeded, and by the evening, his mind, the Majesty, the Sultan, was made. You know what? He has dismissed his Grand Vizier. Riots in Damascus. Not great. Instigated by sharp economic downturn in the region and populist rabble-rousers, the Syrian people seem to be shifting the blame for the current opulent crisis towards the central Ottoman government. Rapid decrease in price for the agricultural produce, in the meanwhile, is taking a toll on the recently settled tribes of the Syrian hinterland, where banditry is increasing by the day. In the intellectual sector of both Syria and the Ottoman Arabs in general, Siam, a general strike against the government has been called. More disturbing, however, is the increasing polarization of the political landscape in Syria, as such groups as the authoritarian SSNP and the Syrian Syndicalist Party are growing in size and influence. Look, okay? Just remain calm. Nothing bad could possibly happen to the Ottoman Empire, okay? It's impossible. We're all looking good. The HIF. I think I'm just going to appoint the HIF. Or we call early elections. We lose more stability if we do this. You know, I might call for early elections. I think these guys are going to win probably anyways. After that, let's go for more stability, please. And the new Grand Vizier. When Abdullah II took the throne in 1927, he did so with a promise to rule as a European constitutional monarch. With the restoration of the constitution and the first free elections since the pre-war era were seen as huge leaps of progress in the empire and were celebrated as the beginning of a new era, some however argue that Abdullah II was forced under increasing pressure from the nationalist and secularist military to take these steps, as the only reason for his liberalization drive was to avoid being deposed like Abdullah II only 2 decades earlier. Now that a majority parliamentary crisis is shaken out the nation and our Sultan has to be the first time openly interfere in the politics of his parliament, the nation awaits his answer on the issue. The HOI4 has strong ties to the military and has already been angered by the dismissal of their leader, Mustafa Kemal Pasha, due to the direct influence of the Sultan. Looking for an answer to the crisis, they have pushed Mustafa towards replacement for Kemal, and are pushed Mustafa Ismet Pasha towards replacement for Kemal, and are unlikely to answer kindly to any candidate not part of their party. Meanwhile, the liberal opposition is mostly afraid of the continued OHF legislator that will push them further on the path to the infamous CUP, and that end in a multi-party democracy may be appointed if the Sultan does not take a solid stance against it. I feel like you're going to lead to maybe a coup, so let's just call for early elections, and hopefully nothing bad happens. I don't know if anything bad will happen, but if I cross my fingers, DDY absorbs the Kemen's Florida Otiaks as officially integrated with the DDY. Today, after a short round of funding from the government, was able to acquire the last remaining tracks of the Austrian and German shareholders in the wake of the Berlin crash. The railway company, which was founded in 1868 to build a railway line connecting Vienna and Constantinople, has had a rough history with various wars, border adjustments, and final crises left it broken up. The most famous user, the Luxury Orient Express, in the past connected Paris to our grand capital, where it arrived in the Strickland tablets. The Mill Creek, however, caused great damage to the company, as the German Metropa laid down claim to a large portion of its assets in Central and Eastern Europe. Even though the Orient Express still arrives in Strasbourg, one cannot deny that the end is nearing for the imperialist grandeur of old. Okay, got 2 more stability out of that. So the election should be happening soon enough. And hopefully things go okay and nothing completely collapses. I feel like before the update, there were way less problems in the Ottoman Empire. I feel like things have gotten substantially worse for everybody involved. So let's have you guys prepare an invasion here. Do you guys have any upgrades that you can do? Your aggressive assault or recovery rate. Not going to upgrade you at all right now. Infantry expert. You don't have enough points for that. You know what? Fair enough. We're only getting 0.03 command power because we have like no war support. Yeah, so it's probably wild if we can upgrade any of our guys. But that's okay. That's okay. It could be worse. Bread riots in Aleppo. As the economic situation in the realm deteriorates, the Syrian city of Aleppo has once again been hit by bread riots. Even though the scope of these riots remain unclear for now, a mob assaulted Christian and Jewish bakeries and flour mills throughout the city. Luckily, the governor was quick to intervene and was able to put the mob down as reinforcements from Anatolia arrived. 8 rioters were shot in the operation, but it seems that no fatalities were reported. So how mad is Aleppo right now? Well, since it's going to increase, but right now it is actually still a core of ours, so there's no actually there's no unrest there right now. The mask is at 15%. Its cap is 21. And I think you are slowly increasing, unfortunately, which is not great. Surprisingly, having all of our territory want to rebel against us is not what we want. Also, apparently all of our options here... You know what? The options here have probably gone away. Because we're no longer... No, we're still authoritarian democratic. I actually don't know then. Because Kamal Pasha's not in charge. The election of 1938, or 1936. The resignation of our Grand Vizier and the parliamentary deadlock has led to the early elections. Fears of widespread voter fraud and reports of fear tactics in the hinterlands of Anatolia are running rampant as the liberal elite of Constantine are fully aware of another victory of the OHF may usher in a return to the CUP autocracy. So I think we're going to have the Liberal Entente regains the majority. And that's supposed to be the Liberal Entente. The OHF loses the election in 1936. What some may have seen coming ever since their close victory in 1935 has today become a reality. The OHF, party of Turkish nationalists and the CUP remnants, has been thoroughly defeated and their coalition shattered. Now we must pick up where the Liberal Entente left off in 1934 and repair all that had been torn down. The first matter of the day, however, is already a very precarious one. However, as though the OHF coalition no longer has majority, we aren't a united front as we would have liked to be. And our choice of Grand Vizier is a hotly contested discussion, subject amongst the various party leaders. Prince Albert, leader of the largest party, the HIF, seems to take his disposition from his program of full decentralization. It is bold initiative to reinvent the Ottoman Empire. Sabila Ashrin from the Mount Lebanon region seems to be his main opponent, with the focus on Islamic solidarity, morality, and return to the old. The Druze Prince, better known as the Prince of Eloquence, has captured the minds and hearts of many prominent Arab families, and seems to have the support of the religious establishment, with some even going so far to say as he has an ear within the palace. As the two swell for the position, however, many are turning their eyes to the F, whose support during the last Liberal coalition was instrumental to the success. A relatively young party founded by the ex-general Kamadir Pasha, nonetheless, has seen its election results explode with every election as its promise of a middle way between the hardline OFF and the Liberal Entente is finding large support among the Turkish middle class, while the general's personal record can count on the support of many former and present soldiers. So the HF are... No, you're the DF. I think. Did you... I think you... Oh, what happened is because we got a new tree here. Yeah, because we have a brand new tree, it actually cancels the focus, as unfortunate as that is. I probably should have realized that was going to be the case. Allies in the Maghreb. I mean, we could join the Entente or the Reichspakt at some point. So do we have an election now? Right now, there's actually nothing in there, but that's probably going to show up soon enough. So I guess right now, because we're not going conservative, we'll still go for the stability. I would have liked that earlier, but you know that's okay. Kazmir Khalil returns from Armenia, serving as the Wali of the Armenian Vilayets in 1935. Former Brigadier General and the Wild Creek hero Kaiserreich Pasha returned to the capital to participate in the coalition, taking talks currently ongoing. His party, the DF, the Democratic Party, has once again seen a significant increase in seats and is a rising star within the empire. Many expect that he will do a bid for the position of Grand Vizier. Arriving through Hyderabad Station on the eastern side of the Bosphorus, the man was escorted directly to the palace for an audience with the Sultan II. with a program serving as a middle ground between the older and the more aristocratic HIF and authoritarian OHF. It seems very likely that Sultan will at least seriously consider the man who has in the past already stood close to the palace. Okay, so we're getting some machine tools. The parliamentary ring of the SSNP. Although the immediate popular response to the Saudis party is limited at best, one cannot deny that it hasn't made a deep impression on the political scene in Syria. As opposed to the more traditional aristocratic and autocratic parties within the cities of Damascus and Aleppo, this new organization has a central directive, a strong political message, and a limited by dedicated core of supporters. Parading through the streets of Beirut, a new parliamentary ring of the party is certainly a sight to behold, as the Orient isn't used to this sort of militaristic and modern displays of politics. The conservatives are flocking to the social liberal and social conservative goes up. So they're flocking into Prince Abdullah's banner. Coalition talks seem to be progressing with satisfactory fashion as Prince Abdullah Sabatin seems well underway to form an acceptable coalition to oppose the centralist. With the program focusing on severe decentralization and with most governing shift towards the political assemblies, many other minorities and Arabs are showing their support for his ideas. Nonetheless, many conservatives remain opposed, as whilst they believe the program of the OHF is borderline heresy and a disaster for the Ottoman state. They remain opposed to the complete decentralization as they fear they will lead to negative effects on Islam and the position of the Sultan Caliph. So who are we going to elect? Well, right now the DH is the most popular. The OHF has completely collapsed in popularity. The HIF will become the ruling party. As decreed by the Ottoman Constitution, the final decision remains in the hands of the Sultan Caliph. And as such, many were wondering what was going on between the palace walls. After thorough discussion with all the candidates and meeting with his advisor, Sultan has today affirmed the next vizier as Prince Sabatin. Is that you? HIF becomes ruling party. Add modifier parliamentary support. Okay, so we are... So who's in charge here then? Yeah, so you are the social liberals. That seems fine. Which one of you allows me to become the Ottoman Federation? Is it just you? United against imperialism. Allies in the Orient. That's after we beat Iran and Egypt, though. Okay. So it's probably something here, then, I would imagine. Increase attacks in the Hejaz. Our momentary weakness is already showing its marks in Hejaz, where delays in our payments to tribal leaders have resulted in their retaliation. Caravans of pilgrims on their way to the holy cities are experiencing increasing attacks by bandits and deserters, as the usual escorts turn a blind eye. These attacks are causing great damage to the prestige of the Caliph, and it may be best to court the tribes with what little resources we have. Well, we're already at negative 82, so you might as well go down to negative 112. But I think that at least for right now, this is going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So thanks to everybody for watching. My name is Anthnwam. If you enjoyed, put a thumbs up. Not really, thumbs down. If you want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.